Hi, my name is Brandy Petarakis, and I'm the owner of Blue Bee Counseling Services. I'm a mother and wife who is passionate about life and has found joy in helping others improve their mental health. The goal of this podcast is not only to provide enriching entertainment, but to help others in their pathway to have a more fulfilling life. This in no way is a replacement for therapy. Follow us on this journey of mental health awareness. Blue Bee Counseling Services now presents this podcast, Therapist Table Talk. Thank you for joining us today on Therapist Table Talk from Blue Bee Counseling. This one is a new type of class that we're going to be doing. It's going to be called Newbie Therapy. Isn't this exciting?
So fun.
My name is Brandy Petarakis. I'm excited to be here with you today. And I also have Sydney. Sydney,
hello.
Introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Sydney Hall. I'm an intern here at Blue Bee Counseling. I am currently working on receiving my master's in social work degree. And so, yeah, super happy to be here.
We're so happy to have you. We love Sydney. She's like the best thing ever. So let's get talking a little bit about Newbie Therapy. What is these classes that we're going to be doing? There's going to be a series of classes with episodes, and we are so excited to have them. This was all of the genius creation idea of my partner here at Blue Bee Counseling with Logan. So we're so happy that she thought of this and was like, let's do a series of classes that's going to help new therapists coming out into the field. And why is this important? Why is this important? Well, if you're a new therapist, you know. If you know, you know. Because, and those of you that are not therapists, we're so happy to have you here. You're going to learn a lot of stuff on this way too. A lot of skill work. A lot of how to enter when you're feeling a certain way or something presents its way into your office, how you're going to be able to use this skill in order to accomplish this thing with your client. And so I think this is going to be a really, really valuable therapy, like new series and sessions. I'm super excited about this. Okay, so what we have for you today is we're going to kind of talk a little bit about our journey in social work. Now, each session is going to have some sort of a topic with an intervention accompanied with it. And it could even have a modality that could go along with it as well. And so just a little bit of an example is what we're going to have is like, let's say that we're talking about depression. Then if you have a client that comes into your office with some symptoms of depression, we might teach you some ways to show them how to work with them in your office. With a couple of skills on how to accomplish or work through depression. And so we might use some board work. We might have a couple of flyers to show you or handouts that we use and receive. We might even throw some links in there for you to go onto our website to pick up those little brochures or those little assignments that we have, or to actually see some of the diagrams that we're talking about. And so this is going to be a very different type of podcast. You're probably going to want to watch this one. Because we are going to pull it, but we're going to try and talk it through as much as possible. So if you don't have the ability to be able to watch it on YouTube, then you can follow along as best you can with just listening. So here we go. So we're going to talk today a little bit about how we got into therapy and social work. Because definitely there's a couple different kinds. When I'm interviewing people, the number one thing that is asked is, okay, tell me a little bit of how you're a psychologist. And I have to be like, oh, I'm not a psychologist. So let's get a basic understanding of how this kind of works. So first of all, what we have is we have a bunch of different ideas in the mental, or a bunch of different roles in the mental health field. We have, and this is changing, so we might have to change this episode before we come. So watch your current legislation, because there is all sorts of different fields. Now we have coaches, right?
Right.
There are coaches that are out there, and they're able to be guideposts with you to help, like, maybe combat some thought patterns and help you move forward with some goals, motivational skills to get you moving towards the goals that you have set or what pathway you want to go, right? Then we have therapists. Therapists can not only just look at the future, but we can also look at the past and heal things. And healing things can be really important, because what happens in your future is all determined on your past. Like, we are all creatures of what is happening around us and our biological outmake, some of the traumas that have happened, our experiences, and we believe as therapists that those experiences from our past cause us to be unmotivated or not be able to reach our goals or to get in the way and inhibit things. So if we can heal the past, we can work on the future. And we also do a lot of future work as well.
Yeah.
We do goal setting. We do all sorts of motivational interviewing. We talk through things. We're really good at capturing things of curiosity of why one thing is being presented in your office versus another thing. And so that is kind of how we go. Now, there is 3 of us in the field. And we're pretty much all the same. Now, we are social workers, so we went through a bachelor's and a master's degree, or some of us just a master's degree, in getting our social work license. And so once we get our social work license, we have the ability to not only do a master's in social work causes us to be able to do clinical therapy. So I can do clinical therapy, or I can also do casework, right? Where I can help those that are out in the field. I can help them get jobs. I can help them find things that are causing them to not be able to function in daily life. I have a lot more opportunities that are kind of open to me because I'm a social worker.
Yeah.
Right? And so social workers are there to help with functioning. And resources, advocating, anything else on social work that you kind of want to...
I think there's that social work is something that we kind of stereotype as, I think we were having this conversation in a meeting the other day of like, when you think social worker, you think of someone who's going to come in and take your kid out of your house, right? Like that's kind of the stereotype that you get with social workers. I think a lot of times when we use the word, like the term therapist, people assume we are further into like psychiatry or psychology, but really social work is a really awesome field because you can kind of reinvent your career. You can do so many different things. There's medical social workers, there's mental health social workers, there's so many different things. So yeah, there are lots of different things you can do with it.
Right. So social work is a great avenue that's very widespread. And so I like social work better just because of how much more it's educated me on teaching me so many more compartmental things on like advocating for my clients and helping my clients get through the things that they're going through. So I really like social work, but there are 2 other components in our field as well. And we all do pretty much the same thing. There is clinical mental health counselors, right? So CMHC, I like to say that they do the same thing. A lot of the same things within the fact of like the social work aspect to what we do, but they can do clinical mental health counseling as well. So that's another route that you can take, and if you're looking for a therapist, that's a great way to get into the therapy field. The other way is marriage and family therapists. Now, marriage and family therapists, they are more, it's just that their realm is that they're studying more when they go to school, more on families and couples and doing that sort of a realm. Do they still do individual therapy? Yeah, they do.
I think it's important to remember that all of these different fields, we all do a lot of the same things, but when you yourself are, choosing who you want as your therapist, what kind of qualifications you want them to have, just as like a broad generalization, social workers are more trained in, we're trained in trauma, we're very trauma informed, as all are. However, we're trained in more things like advocating for your clients, diversity, inclusion, things along those aspects, more of the social justice kind of aspect. Licensed marriage and family therapists are more the family systems unit, and then clinical mental health counselors have a stronger background in understanding mental health diagnoses. All that to say, we all have education and training in all of these areas. So
Right. So I like to say we're all of one big family.
Yes.
So whichever way you decide that you want to go to school and you want to do, that is exactly what those are kind of the 3 realms in our area. Okay. Now we can all diagnose.
Yep.
But there is psychologists that are better informed and have a lot more skills in diagnosing on certain things, especially those harder cases. I like to tell my therapists that you do not diagnose ADHD.
Yep.
And medical doctors, I'm like, they can give you the medications for ADHD, but they really cannot. They can say, ooh, you're hitting some of these symptoms, but an ADHD diagnosis and an autism diagnosis really must come from a psychologist. So those are things just to kind of be aware of. And then, so psychology is one of those things where I like to send people to get the testing done. So if you're thinking about going into psychology, that's awesome and great. You can do therapy.
Yes.
They do therapy. It can happen, but a lot of times more of like their niche of what they do is a lot of the testing.
Mm-hmm.
So they're more of like looking through the diagrams, trying to figure out and coordinate, be curious about some of the symptoms that their clients are having, giving them the diagnosis, and then they usually refer them out to therapists to do the work. So just so you're kind of aware of that, we don't have enough psychologists out there. Yeah. So a lot of their work is diagnosing. Mm-hmm. It tends to be. Yeah. And it depends on the psychologist. Sometimes psychologists are like, I just don't want to diagnose anymore, and I really want to do the therapy part. And so they do the therapy part, which is exactly what we do. A lot more components. They're just more educated in the diagnoses. They can pinpoint it just a little bit better than we can. Yeah. So, the other route is, and I get this a lot, is a psychiatrist. Mm-hmm. Now, a psychiatrist is a lot different than a psychologist, and then therapists, and definitely different than coaches. And so what this is, this route, the psychiatry is more of a special niche that a doctor would go into. So they go to medical school, and then they have to go into getting that specialty, what is it called? Like a certification?
Yeah.
Or like,
I don't know the actual
it's a lot of extra school.
It's a lot of school.
A year or two, I think, of extra school where they have to go in and be specialized in medication management and treatments for mental health. Yeah. And so psychiatry is definitely underpopulated. If you're a doctor and you're wanting to do psychology, please go and be a psychiatrist. We do not have enough of them, and the wait is way too long. Yeah. And so a lot of doctors, I think they're coming out with special, like if you're a doctor, you can get your psychiatry certificate, or a PA can get their psychiatry certificate. And so they're able to diagnose mental health issues. And we're so grateful for them, because we need them for the understanding, especially around ADHD medications, right? Yes. Like, yeah. And how there's just a lot of guesswork around medications right now on how they're working in the body and how they work with the symptoms. And so we just need to know more. So please, if you have the ability to go to school forever, take that route and go be a psychiatrist. And so those are kind of all of the ideas around what's happening in the mental health field and how that can be so helpful. Now, there are other aspects. There's energy healers, there's like foot zoners, like there's all sorts of people that can help you with your needs, and this is all dependent on what your needs exactly are. As a therapist, with this episode and with these episodes coming up, it's going to be mainly centered around what we do as licensed clinical social workers or clinical mental health counselors and marriage family therapists. So that's kind of the route that we're going to go with these episodes. Yeah. So, Sydney, what brought you into social work?
So many different things. I think that every person who ends up being a social worker or a therapist has some things that they've experienced that have led them to want to kind of be someone who helps other people navigate these kinds of situations. So there are definitely some things in my childhood and things like that I myself grew up going to kind of like different treatment centers to visit some family members. I worked with some therapists myself, and I've just always felt a draw to this kind of field. So I've worked in quite a few different areas of social work. My undergrad is in psychology, so I've always been drawn to these areas. So some past experiences that I've had, because I kind of took some time in between my bachelor's going back for my master's, because I was unsure of like what I really wanted to do with it. I always knew I wanted to go further, but I had a hard time nailing down exactly which degree I wanted to go for. So I've worked in treatment centers with adolescents. I worked in a couple of different treatment centers, and I really loved working in that, but ultimately the burnout that exists in those is so real, and I just couldn't see myself doing that long term in that capacity. And then I've also worked in community services. I worked with refugee population in Salt Lake City for a long time as a caseworker and as a community advocate to help connect them to resources and all of those kinds of things. So I have some like varying background in different social work areas, and ultimately just reflecting on those experiences, I found that what I really loved and what I felt value in was those one-on-one connections and working with people and making an impact on the individual level always felt really powerful to me. And so ultimately I ended up deciding to go into the Masters of Social Work and be here doing individual therapy, because I just always felt like that's where I found the most value in it. And I like the idea of being in this private practice helps with some of the work-life balance, and a lot of times as social workers we hear that like the burnout and the lack of resources and all those things are super, super real. And so you just kind of have to like test out what lots of different areas and figure out what feels like a good fit for you. So.
When I get a lot of like new people coming in and they're like, I just don't know, do I want to be a therapist? Do I not want to be a therapist? I kind of go into some realms that I like say, okay, number one, like we donate a lot of time.
Yeah.
Like the field is awesome. You get good pay in the field, which wasn't the case when I went back to school. When I went back to school, people were like, oh, so you want to be poor?
Yeah. I had one person that I'm very close with in my life. He's a social worker, and he used to always tell me when I was a kid, don't ever be a teacher or a social worker. My husband's a teacher and I'm a social worker.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. That is awesome. And so those are things to recognize. Here is some of the qualifications that I have found works really well if you're interested in social work. One of the first things that they told us is there's not very many social workers that are great with math. I'm like, here I am. That is exactly me. And so, but anyway, if you're good at math, that's not the case. You can still be a social worker. But they said that it is very, it's a very attractive realm for people who are more creative centered.
Yeah.
And so, so if you have a lot of creativity, you love to teach. I do a ton of teaching. That's exactly what I do kind of every day in my office.
I feel like
I'm
we're teachers just in a different capacity.
Yeah, so I love teaching. I think that is super fun. I get to play.
Yeah.
And I love play. Like, a lot of somatic kind of healing can kind of come out in therapy, like standing and throwing things in garbage cans and writing down lists and tearing them all up, painting rocks. Like, we play games.
There are some days where I end my day and I've seen kids all day and I'm like, I just played Uno for 6 hours and got paid to do it. That's so cool. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, with strategy, right?
Yes.
And play therapy. There's play therapy. We have a playroom here at Blue Bee Counseling where we have taken classes on play therapy and how the importance of play can be for these younger kids. And especially nowadays when both parents are so busy, and it can be so important. And so having this ability to do some play therapy has been so great for a lot of our clients. We're seeing great results with it, which is awesome. And so connecting, having friendships in therapy can be great. Therapy can be very closed door. That's one of the things I think is like been really hard is a lot of like I worked for about 5 years and I was very closed door therapist where people would come in and out of my office all day long. I see one person right after another, and that was kind of overwhelming and hard, I think. But in Blue Bee, that was something that we really wanted to change and make a difference on. So we hold lunches where all of us therapists gather together. We laugh. We talk about things. We strategize some techniques and work on some things. And that's another reason why we want to just share these things with you guys, because I didn't get the supervision that I was hoping I would get. Yeah. And so I'm thinking, and not to say that my supervisors aren't awesome. They were just really busy. And I didn't know to ask. I didn't know what I needed to have in order to start therapy. And when I started therapy, it was very much, hey, come in and observe for a couple weeks in my office, and then here's your first client. And I was like, what?
And we all know that school doesn't actually prepare us to do therapy, right? Which is why I think things like this are so helpful. I remember coming in and being like, I am super knowledgeable on, cognitive behavioral therapy and DBT and all these kinds of things. School gives us a foundation in that. But then you come in here and you're like, but how do I do this? Like,
right. How do I change that from all my education?
How do I relay that in a session? And how am I qualified? And how am I trusted to, hold someone's mental health, right? And so having those kinds of tools and tips to, really put things into practice. I know that when I started taking clients on my own, I had, a list of 4 or 5 things that Brandy and I developed together of here are some go-to activities, here are some things that you can use in session, and having those just in my little mental toolbox was so helpful in building confidence in being a therapist.
Which I think is so important. So now that you know that there's some key components to becoming a therapist, one of them being the excitement around and the desire to help people, right? The ability to, there's times when I don't get paid to do the things that I do. Yeah. There's a lot of emotional components to it. You have to set some really good boundaries with your feelings and your emotions around things so that you can leave things in the office. And that takes practice and skills. We're going to teach you those things in these classes, and they are free.
Yeah. How awesome.
You're welcome. You're welcome. We didn't get those, and you get those now. And so we're paying it forward.
I did get those because she's my supervisor.
That's right. I did.
Yeah.
I give them to her.
Yes.
But can we also say that you give them to me too? Like, there's times when I was like, I'm in an office and I'm like, so I don't know what to do with this client. And she's like, oh, I got you. Let me show you on the board. And she's like on the board listing all these things. And she's like, you're going to go this way and do this thing, okay? And I'm like, okay. And then how did you do that? And so we help each other out. Just because I'm the supervisor or just because I'm the owner here does not mean that I know more than these interns that are coming out. They are fantastic and so knowledgeable. And so are you. And so are you. We just have to rein it in and teach you how the skills that you learn in school can give them and transfer them over into your everyday working with these clients that are here.
Yeah.
So, here we go. We're going on an adventure. You want to come with us? It's going to be super fun because if you're a new therapist and you want the skills to be able to walk through your clients and with your clients on the things that they're struggling with, we can help you. So pay attention, follow along in our classes because we're about to go on a journey.
So excited.
You think? It's going to be exciting. I'm actually really excited. I'm like, oh, this is going to be so much fun.
I know,
like,
so fun.
A willing audience of people who are going to listen. Okay, so we're going to title our classes according to those things that you're needing to see and hear, so you can pick them as needed. They're going to be on our website. They're going to be on YouTube. They're also going to be on podcasts, all the podcast areas that you need to go to so you can find these. They're available to you. And we hope that you join on our journey. We're so excited to meet each one of you. Hopefully we'll find you someday. Call in, get in a session with us. We take therapists too.
I have my own therapist.
Right? Yeah. And I see like 3 to 4 therapists here. Yeah. So if that is the number one thing, get yourself a therapist. Let's start on this journey. Let's end with maybe a couple books that they can start reading until our next episode comes out. What are some books that you found super helpful on that first set, like when you were first starting therapy?
Self-Compassion by Kristen Neff.
Okay.
I use that. I call it my Bible of therapy.
Right.
It can be used in every scenario. It's so wonderful. She also has a really great workbook along with it that specifies more of how to use self-compassion in very specific situations. That one's great. No Bad Parts by Richard Schwartz gives a really good understanding of internal family systems, which is what we use a lot in here.
It is. It is. We love internal family systems.
Yeah.
A little bit differently. We mold it and use it according to what our clients need it for.
Yeah. I don't think you've read this one. I think we've talked about this. Another one that I really love is You Should Talk to Someone by Lori Gottlieb. And she is a therapist herself, and she writes about the experience of being a therapist while also navigating some of her personal issues while incorporating some stories she has with clients. And I think that that's a really great one in just helping feel like validated as a therapist who's also, still has to be an individual outside of being a therapist. That one's a really fun one. And she's really humorous and lighthearted in the way she writes, and it's really
Sounds
fun.
like we need to listen to that one.
Yeah.
I love The Gifts of Imperfection by Brene Brown. She also has some TED Talks, super important. If you want to watch some of those, that's going to give you a really great start. Esther Perel has some videos online that you can watch, and that kind of helps you navigate couples therapy and how to say the things and use the calmness in order to get some things across.
She has a wonderful podcast too.
Oh yeah,
where she does actual therapy sessions on a podcast.
Yes,
and
I
so
love
you can listen to her actually saying the things in session.
Right. What is that one by Oprah Winfrey?
Oh, I was just thinking, What Happened to You? What Happened to You is so good.
I ask all of my therapists to listen to that book.
It's so
I
powerful.
like listening to it than reading it because you can
Oprah's
hear
voice.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want to listen?
She also has not a therapist, a psychologist.
He's a psychologist,
She has a psychologist on, and so you can hear the two of them speak together, and so you can really differentiate the two. And I really, really like that one. In fact, I am that one is all about trauma.
Yeah.
So this is really good because everybody that comes in our office has some sort of trauma.
That one gives you practical exercises to use in session as well. Some good boardwork activities and questions to ask and things like that.
The other thing I like to do is I like to tell you to get a book. So we're going to start a book. I want you to get a book of some way that you can incorporate images or ideas in. Logan, I'm going to have you grab my yellow book right down there. I'm going to show them my book. This is super vulnerable for me. And if you're not on YouTube watching this, maybe jump on and get on to the end of this video so you can kind of see. This is my startup book as an intern. It's so cute. But what it has in here is it just has, and I like these books because you can add in the pages as you need them. They tear out without tearing the page out. they can go in and out as needed. But like, see, I just I write down little things that help me in my office and little strategies. This is a little paper. This one is like a little thing that I can read to my clients. This one is on the price of nice. Like, and I just enter them in here and keep them in here. So when I need to go to something, I'm like, oh, I have a quick go-to. I forgot I can do that. So this is just really helpful in like understanding and recognizing little things and board work that you can do. So get yourself a little book, some sort of a notebook, because we're going to be doing things on the board that you're going to want to take notes with or jot them out. And incorporate them in your book so you have something that you can hold on to, so you can like rummage through when you're kind of getting stuck with a client and you're like, ooh, there's something that was really good in here that I think I could use with you. Let me like find that, and you're like traveling through the book and you're like, I don't know what to do right now. And it always has something in my little Bible of a book that of something that I could do in that moment in time.
Yeah.
So, all right, we're so grateful that you are here with us on Therapist Table Talk, Blue Bee, and the new episodes of Newbie Therapists.
Yes.
Newbie Therapy. That's it. So we hope you join us on the next one. We're going to be starting on some of the key components of becoming a new therapist, entering into your office, what that might look like, supervision, all of the fun things. So join us next time. We'll see you later. Thanks for joining us.